unicorn, Shohei Ohtani. Even his injuries are unique, right? Like he leaves the game after about 4 innings and ends up with 2 hits, 2 walks, a home run. There you go from Angels PR, removed as a pitcher. I like how you have to put that in parentheses, with cramping in his right hand and fingers. He's had problems with the middle finger on his right hand for the past month. Remember, last month he was taken out at one point with the blister and the broken nail. Despite that, he can still smash the baseball. So he tied the game earlier when he stole second base and ended up being the tying run. He gave them a little bit of insurance right here, making it 3-1 on a 2-2 pitch. That's number 40 on the season. 60 is very attainable for this dude, depending on how he does the rest of August and into September, maybe even more. And then Alden Gonzalez, who's been covering the team most days for ESPN, said Shohei Ohtani, who exited as a pitcher with cramping in his right hand, lined a 107-mile-an-hour home run. There are so many times I watch him play and end up typing sentences that don't make sense. Now, I say all of that, Lo, and they lost the game on this grand slam. Carlos Estevez, who had been perfect, 23 for 23 in save ops, did not have control and walked, I think, a couple guys. And then eventually, with the bases loaded, that is Cade Marlowe with the big grand slam in the 9th, first blown save of the year, and it moves the Angels back 4 games now. And Beyond the Halo, one of the super fan accounts, said, I feel like such a fool for putting myself through this endless pain and suffering with no payoff. You'd cut out anything else in your life that brings you this much trouble, and yet I can't. Fandom is so stupid, and so am I. So your thoughts on Shohei's amazingness, but also the poor – I'm not even going to say the poor team. Poor Angels fans. Like, how are you supposed to root for a situation like this when you're watching legendary greatness from one player – but your team can't get over the hump? I mean, they're 4 games back. They're not going to make the playoffs. I really feel strongly about that.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. You know, it's been happening for a while now. I mean, we've been talking about this, and as a Angel fan, you just got to know when to let go. It's time for you guys to let go, move on. Just sit back and just enjoy the games, but don't put your heart into it. You know, I know it's hard to do, but just don't put your heart into it. So Shohei, he's been lights out. He's been doing it all season long. I continue to expect great things from him, and he's just locked in right now. When you're locked in baseball, you know you can be a very dangerous player for sure.
I'ma say it, and everybody knows it. They need a new owner. They need new ownership.
There it is.
I'm sorry. I mean, Artie Moreno, great dude, all that. It needs a fresh start. They got all the money. They got a perfect location. The weather is beyond. I mean, both teams, 60 and 70 miles each direction, north and south, are vastly improved. You gotta do something. My son back here just chilling, looking at pictures. But yeah, it is. I mean, you're right again. Generational talent and 2 guys. You got the best top 2 players in baseball on the same team, and you can't get over the hump. And again, it's not to the other players. Estevez has been great, all-star. I've seen him at the all-star game. A big love, big hug. Proud of what he's been doing. The Mariners, again, are in the hunt. So, they are very aggressive, and they're going to be aggressive going forward because they need the W's also. So it's just something's going on in Anaheim, man. Something going on in Anaheim. I don't know what it is. Again, it's always that Shohei and Mike Trout is 2 for 3 with a tank and a triple and 4 RBIs, but they lose the game. And that is such a common theme and has been for a long time now, unfortunately. And Artie, just say, I'm going to sell it.
He almost did. Jonesy, he almost did. He
I know, and fans were happy.
Was the part that was
fans
that,
were
that hurt.
Happy.
Of course fans they were.
Okay, some excitement going on in this organization. Okay, we might got a new owner, somebody spicy. Maybe, L.A. area, you never know who comes in. You maybe get the baseball version, the West Coast version of Stevie Cohen. You never know. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, you get someone real rich. Right. Yeah, like the Clippers owner. And also, when you're baseball rich, it's cooler because you don't have to deal with a salary cap. So you can really try and turn things around. And hey, Steve Cohen and the Mets showing us that it's not a Band-Aid situation. It takes time. But the problem with the Angels is for years, they kind of neglected the development system. For years, they weren't putting much into pitching. Pitching's kind of a big deal, especially starting pitching. They weren't in the market for a while for top end starters. I also think even the Cole sweepstakes was kind of BS because they weren't offering him as much money as the Yanks. So like that's like any team saying, "Oh, I didn't finish in first place." Like if you're not first, you're last on a free agent signing.
They had the guy to redo all of that. They still have the guy to redo all of that, and you can't trade him anymore.
Too late.
You get a first-round draft pick. Hey, I hope that kid, whoever in 2026 or 8 or 30 makes it to the big leagues and has a career. You could have redid all of that and then brought him back. Possibly. That's always a possibility.
Yeah.
I think. I don't know. GM's a tough job. I want to do it one day and get fired.
But at this point, it's not the manager. It's not the GM. The way that the team has been run needs to turn over. And especially when your owner does say, like, hey, I'm going to sell the team. And then he's like, just kidding. I do think he might put them back on the market this year because I do think Shohei will leave. And then it's not as enticing. And the profits probably aren't as great when Shohei's gone, right? I mean, if Shohei leaves, as great as Trout is, how is that place going to sell?
So hear this. I did for my podcast, I did an analysis on when Shohei pitches versus when he just plays. And I did it in Baltimore. It was 10,000 fans different when he pitches.
Wow.
I mean, because he's going to hit. But he generates that on the road.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Because, again, coming to Baltimore is cheaper than going to Philly, than going to New York, than going, but he generates that on the road. So, I don't know what the Angels can eat. No, the Angels don't eat of the other players, but I mean, you're going to lose a lot when he leaves, unfortunately. And then you telling your fans that unless you go out and sign a lot of guys, if you can cover $300 million, or because that's half of what he's going to get.
Exactly.
You got to tell your fans, like, hey, man, I don't know, because you could have had a lot of new guys, and then bring them back, possibly. Yeah, that's possible.
And for me, if I power rank the AL West, I mean, right now, obviously the Rangers and the Astros are ahead of the pack. I actually think the Mariners are still a better team than the Angels. I like their starting pitching much better. I think the offense is probably a little tilted toward the Angels, but not much. I think the bullpens are pretty similar, and I'd rather take starting pitching down the stretch. So
they got good starting pitching.
They might. Yeah, they do. I like if you had to guess right now. I actually put the Mariners. I think the Mariners will finish with a better record than the Angels. Probably not by much, maybe by a game or two, but I actually think they're a better team. Fair?
I agree 100%. But pitching has always been the issue with the Angels. I mean, for the longest now. But to me, that's the difference with the Mets and the Angels. The Mets decided to, move forward, move on, and get rid of players and start that thing over. And the Angels decided to go for it. And I think they're going to lose in the long run. But hey, I think at the end of the day, Shohei's going to leave, and now Trout is stuck. And now, what do we do with Trout? That's the big question. What do we do with Trout?